From the Mox Boarding House event, John Barber, he is on Charlottesburg, and his opponent David DiMolanta is on a 12-post Bant deck with some sweet miscut cards. So it's going to be pretty sweet to check out. Jtron, I do have my hat with me, but I don't think it's wizard time yet. If there is enough popular demand, I will put on the hat. So here we have David with a nice start, a Glimmer Post into a Sensei's Divining Top. He's going to pass the turn, and John Barber looks like he's kept his hand, and this gives him a pretty good idea what he's up against. Looks like David's going to go untap, take his upkeep for the turn, activate the top on upkeep to manipulate his draw a little bit better. I like this because the deck really curves from 1 to like 3 and 6, so there's not really something he wants to do for 2 mana. He's going to find a card that he needs. Looks like he's going to pick up Flooded Strand just as a shuffle effect. Also holding Eye of Ugin, Swords of Plowshares, Primeval Titan. See what he has to work with here, and he's going to consider what he has. And so he's going to play the Flooded Strand and pass back to John. John's sitting without any 1-drops. He got an Interrupt Decay. It's a little bit awkward. You could get the Sensei's Divining Top, and there aren't really that many targets. Most Bant lists, most 12-post decks do run cards like Pithing Needle, Candelabra of Tunnels, Pithing Needle being a main deck card, just to take out cards like Wasteland, because Bant is the 12-post deck really wants to ramp up into these big creatures. However, David actually does not play any copies of Pithing Needle here, so it's a bit unusual. We'll have deck list in a bit. Jam.Pen, CVM, Chris Van Meter is indeed here. He's recently moved to Seattle, Washington. Actually writes occasionally for Card Kingdom, but he's competing today. Don't know what he's on yet, but we'll have that for you soon. Hey, it is Unfair. Good to see you. Good to see a nice crowd right here. The timer needs to get started. So we have a few stragglers coming in, but it looks like John made a Baleful Strix on turn 1, on turn 2, and then passed back to David. David takes his opportunity, fetch up a Tundra, and probably going to activate his top to manipulate his library a little bit better. So we got here, he's working with, it looks like a Sakura Tribe Elder, and 2 cards that I think a Cavern of Souls, and 1 more card that I don't recognize. Sakura Tribe Elder, very interesting card in this deck. Given that this is a ramp strategy, just having a creature that could just put in an extra land, get you to the 3 mana or 6 mana points to cast Show and Tell and Primeval Titan respectively, are really important because this deck often can win with Primeval Titan, but what you really want to do is put up enough Cloud Post effects, enough locuses, such as Cloud Post, to really ramp into Eldrazi creatures, Emrakul, the Aeon Storm being the main one that gives this deck such inevitability against control decks in the format. So looks like David indeed picked up his Sakura Tribe Elder and went ahead and made that for the turn, passes back to John. John picks up a Bayou. He's got a little bit of controlling hand, but not much pressure. I do think he has 2 Charlotte's Agents to work with. Superfluous Rhetoric. David's actually splashing for 2 copies of Swords of Plowshares and 4 copies of Terminus, which I think is quite interesting. Also Gaddock and various sideboard cards, which we'll have for you in a little bit. So Charlotte's Agent's going to hit the battlefield. Cascade is a trigger that happens upon casting, and it's going to cascade into a Deathrite Shaman. So now suddenly John Barber has a little bit of a clock to work with. David's going to activate the top once again at the end of his turn. Take a look, and you see that right there is a miscut card. I cannot recognize it. I think it's a Tundra, but he's also looking at a Cloud Post and I think another land. He's going to sacrifice the Sakura Tribe Elder. Nice shuffle effect on a stick that also helps you ramp. Unfortunately, this is going to put a basic land in play tapped. That's a forest. Looks quite wacky. That's the appeal of miscut cards to some people, including David, which is pretty sweet if you are committed to your plan of pimping out your deck thusly. Just gonna take another look, and here I have our illustrious. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I don't know if Sean already answered this. The white in David's list, he actually has 4 Terminus in there as well to use with his Sensei's Divining Top and a couple of Swords to Plowshares. And anything on the side, he has a Gaddock Teague, Rest in Peace. It's 4 Leyline of Sanctity. So, he has some use for the white.
Odorte, they are in fact real miscuts. I believe they are tournament legal. They are approved by our organizers and judges. They might be a non-factory miscut, though, if that's what you were wondering. Looks like he has a Vesuva, and looks like this one is copying Tropical Island. David likes to arrange his Vesuvas to indicate what's being copied.
Makes things just a little easier to read on the board. Yeah, those are miscuts from one particular person, and I can never remember his name.
Eli Cassis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dealer in the northeast region. Here we have the fashionably late Charles Wong. I think, Chris, you're pretty busy right now. I think you're going to jump out of the booth real quick and let, I'm going to call him Chuck right here.
Sure. Hello, everybody.
Right here. Oh, and here, John Barber cascades into an Ancestral Vision. This is going to target himself. This is one of the best reasons to play Charlotte's Agent. Ancestral Vision is a card that harkens back to the old Ancestral Recall. It doesn't have a casting cost. You can't actually cast it normally, but with the Cascade mechanic, if this is the card you luck into, you get to cast it for free. So you get a Grizzly Bears and an Ancestral Recall, both going on the stack separately. So even one counterspell can't really take it, can't break that up.
Yeah, Ancestral Vision is a super powerful card. It was banned in Modern until very recently, and it's actually one of the reasons why cards such as Bloodbraid Elf are banned in Modern.
Yeah, but this is really great. The Ancestral Vision gives John a little bit of gas. He needs either a clock or some more disruption. Wasteland's probably the best form of disruption, but he did pick up a Hymn to Turak. Hymn to Turak, one of these really broken cards from, well, one of the few broken cards from Fallen Empires, but just illustration of the type of disruption that was present 20 years ago that Wizards would never print again anymore.
So do we know what's in David's hand?
I think he has a Primeval Titan and then a bunch of lands, but there's Swords to Plowshares, Primeval Titan, 2 lands. I think one of them is a Cloud Post, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, it looks like John has a Force of Will, and with that Force of Will, he's in a very good position with all his pressure on board.
Yeah. Michael Bondi, actually, cool guy, in the chat, he wants to remark, Ancestral Vision was not why Bloodbraid Elf was banned. Ancestral Vision had been banned previously, but I don't think Bloodbraid Elf is coming off the ban list anymore, and Wizards, in their last ban-restricted update for Modern, for the reasoning, kind of hinted towards that effect. So John's going to cast this Hymn to Turak. Looks like it's in the process of resolving. Dave's going to shuffle up his deck. His Primeval Titan is the most important card by far. I would have considered spinning the top just to give yourself a better chance of keeping it, but it looks like the Eye of Ugin and the Cloud Post are instead binned. He can jam that Primeval Titan this turn. Oh, sorry, he's 1 mana short. So who do you like in this matchup, Charles?
Well, coming in, literally just coming in, and for this particular game, it looks like John has a huge advantage. One of the things that John will need to do in the matchup is he's playing the role of the aggressor, right?
Yes.
Because David's deck will definitely go over John's deck, and David has effects such as Glimmer Post and whatnot.
Yeah. And here's a Glimmer Post coming into play. This is a Locust. Allow him to gain 2 life this time, but what he really needs is the payoff card like the Cloud Post. Here is a Primeval Titan, and John's not even going to hesitate to Force of Will this. Primeval Titan it's basically a ramp spell, a sorcery ramp spell in this deck, and if you can't deal with it right away as the opponent, it just takes things out of control.
So I don't think, it doesn't look like John has any more interaction for any future Primeval Titans.
I don't believe so. I think he's holding another copy of Charlotte's Agent.
Yeah, I see Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
So really, this is just a race for John now.
Oh, that's a Jace. That's a really nice card to pick up.
Yeah. Hopefully, I assume he will try and brainstorm and try and dig for, say, another Force of Will, because David here has a top, which will definitely
Yeah.
allow him to fight through
Yeah.
any Fate Seal effects from Jace.
He's currently tapped out, but you would suspect that since David arranged the top of his library the previous turn, the last card in his deck isn't very good. So the Brainstorm might be a little bit better than the Fate Seal. But in the absence of Senses Divining Top, I do like Fate Sealing Cloud Pulse. What he really needs to find, however, is a Wasteland. Liliana is a good start. It's a bit slow. It really isn't that threatening until it gets to Ultimate Beauty, especially with your opponent being Hellbent. But it is certainly an option.
Yeah, it looks like at this rate, David will be dead in 3 to 4 turns. So David needs to. Well, he just needs to get lucky, right? And
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, his deck is just really full of really live draws. If there's
Yeah.
if there's a Green Sun Zenith, of which he plays 4, or one of the 3 remaining Primeval Titans in the game, I think that just puts the game very strongly in favor of David.
Yeah, which is really interesting because if you looked at this board state for any other match where one player has creatures on board or active Jace, 5 cards in hand, and the other player has nothing on board, you'd
Yeah.
be like,
Oh, yeah,
David's
certainly.
just straight dead. But
Actually, there is one other type of deck that I think, one other non-combo type deck that I think is fine with this kind of board from Charlotte's Bug, and that is a Punishing Fire deck that will first take out the Deathrite Shaman, then pick off the creatures, and then work on the Planeswalkers, and is very difficult to interact with.
so I think I saw Brainstorm, Green Sun Zenith, and Primeval Titan.
Ooh, that was the top 3. That was a pretty spicy top 3. Looks like
Obviously, he doesn't have enough mana to cast Primeval Titan after that top activation.
Green Sun Zenith targets are primarily the 4 Primeval Titans, 3 left in his deck, but he also has a Veteran Explorer and a Sakura Tribe Elder. The Sakura Tribe Elder already bit the dust. He activated it to ramp on turn 2.
So if you're David here, you just hope that your Primeval Titan is good next turn. And if I'm in David's position, I don't feel like it's good, but you have to try because that's all you got.
Well, he's
And-
only got 6 mana, and he needs 7 to make that effective. Did you see another land available for him that comes into play?
No, I did not see any.
it looks
And
like-
if John draws a Wasteland here,
Yeah.
then it's game over, or even a Force of Will.
And
so.
a turn Drang of the Deathrite Shaman is going to take David down to 14. Jace is going to Brainstorm once again, finds a couple of lands and a copy of another copy of Liliana. He wisely puts one of the lands back. It's the basic, and I think this is very heads up because he doesn't know this yet, but David does have a copy of Veteran Explorer. Charlotte's Bug is only likely to run a basic swamp and a basic forest, and that is indeed what John has to work with. So you really want that in the library in case Veteran Explorer bites the dust. He's going to play a Verdant Catacombs and then send in with his army of robots, his Charlotte's Agent and Baleful Strix.
Yeah, this clock from John just isn't fast enough.
It's pretty anemic, but I think with Planeswalkers and enough disruption, he can maybe get there. John's going to fetch up Verdant Catacombs in presumably his second main phase, go down to 18. What's he going to get right here? He's got 2 Underground Seas and 2 Bottles. Probably wants a trap at this point.
Yeah.
But why not put more value on the board? Underground Sea hits the battlefield. John has access to 6 mana. You know, he could cast Primeval Titan himself, or in fact, a Zenith for 6.
So is David just going to get 2 Cloud Posts here?
I think right now it's a little bit awkward because his Eye of Ugin actually got binned. I think it's very likely he'll get a Cloud Post and then hope that John doesn't have a way to answer the Primeval Titan so he could attack next turn and maybe get 2 Glimmer Posts.
Well,
That's the most mana efficient way to
so if he gets
get some effects.
so what is the Vesuva copy?
Yeah, I think it's on Tropical Island.
Okay, so if he gets 2 Cloud Posts, he's not dead next turn.
No.
So
Alright.
that's why we'll put him down to 9, and John here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage the
Oh
following
wow,
turn.
there is a Primeval Titan on the board. So he's going to Brainstorm in response. He's going to get rid of his worst card, probably this copy of. Oh, sorry, what was the non-Zenith, non-Titan card?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
This
hard
is
to
in
tell.
response to Liliana activation, the +1 ability. Let's pull up Liliana the Veil really quickly, just in case any of our viewers are unfamiliar with some of these legacy staples. Liliana the Veil, just one of the most disruptive planeswalkers, certainly at 3 mana. This and Jace Mind Sculptor are the planeswalkers you'll commonly see in Charlotte's Bug. John actually runs a 3rd planeswalker in the sideboard, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Superfluous Rhetoric, you are correct. That was indeed a show and tell. Thanks for reminding us. So I think there's a potential line of just jamming Show and Tell into the Primeval Titan next turn to kind of play around Force of Will, but then if you draw it and he discards, then you're just
then
in that position.
then John. Yeah. That's an interesting play, but then you just lose out on your top.
Yeah.
And then John here
Yeah.
will just make you discard your Primeval Titan
And
with.
the top is very
Liliana.
important because he doesn't have the way to get Eye of Ugin anymore with the Primeval Titan trigger, so he needs some more manipulation.
So I think the big question here is actually what does David get with Primeval Titan? I think the two candidates here are double Cloud Post or Cloud Post Glimmer Post.
Yeah.
So if he gets double Cloud Post, that would give him access to 14 mana, which actually would not be enough to cast Emrakul.
And it's interesting, he knows right now there's a Liliana on the board, so he probably won't get another chance to attack with the Primeval Titan to set off another trigger.
So another option is he could get Cloud Post and Glimmer Post. So that would give him access to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana.
Yeah.
And from there, he could cast Ulamog if he drew it.
Yeah, this is the new Ulamog, so-called Nulamog.
Yeah.
This is a little bit cheaper. Exiling 2 permanents is a big deal, especially when your opponent has 2 planeswalkers. It's better than the old Ulamog, which is kind of Vindicate. Interestingly, a lot of these original Eldrazi, the legendary Eldrazi especially, they have triggers that happen on casting the creature, so they don't actually even need to be. They don't actually need to resolve.
So he could get Glacial Chasm, but he does if he had it in his deck. But unfortunately, he doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't have a copy of this.
He doesn't have any utility lands except for Karakas and Eye of Ugin.
There may be some merit to getting a Cavern of Souls, but if your Primeval Titan already resolved, I think you just go ahead and get some more.
All right,
cards.
so
He's going to gain 8 life off of this. This is pretty cute interaction. The Suva copying. Oh, this is a Cloud Post. Sorry.
no, there's double Glimmer Post.
Double Glimmer Post?
Yes.
Okay. So the Suva comes into play, allows you to clone something. You can't actually copy the Glimmer Post that was coming into play with it, but you copy one of them already on the board. So now that he has 4 locuses when the trigger resolves, he gains 8 life because there's 2 different Glimmer Post triggers. So it's pretty cool.
I like this play a lot.
And getting the Vesuva is much better than getting a Glimmer Post. Because Glimmer Post comes into play tapped untapped if you draw it. But Vesuva has to come into play to tapped if you play it from hand and want to copy something. But Primeval Titan puts your cards into play tapped anyway.
So the reason why I like this play a lot from David is because we know that his Primeval Titan's going to die.
Yeah.
But if David draws a second Primeval Titan, that allows him to get Cloud Post and copy a Glimmer Post. And that will put him at 15 mana, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Glimmer Post.
It'll be 6 locuses if he gets that.
So, and plus 6 from the Cloud Post, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah.
Actually, that would be 16, right? Oh no, 5 plus 6 plus 4. Yeah, math major Charles One right here.
Exactly.
He's gonna
So-
figure out all these lines.
So it makes his another draw of Primeval Titan very good, because if he got, say, Cloud Post, Glimmer Post like I proposed earlier, he still couldn't cast Emrakul.
Yeah. Now he can't activate top and find Emrakul, but he has plenty of mana to activate here if he's just trying to find a Primeval Titan or Greenstone Zenith. And given that he has 6 more life hits in his deck, he's not too. He has 6 life hits in his deck, and he has chance to look at his top 3, actually top 4 if he's willing to activate the top on draw step.
So on John's side, drawing these 2 Tarmogoyfs off the Brainstorm, very powerful for him. Cuts his clock.
Considerably.
Yeah. And that is super important, because you definitely don't want to give David extra turns.
Certainly not. And it looks like David's going to go ahead and consider his options for this turn. We'll see what he has to work with in a second. Right now we're just trying to post something up so he can give you some more information about the metagame. David did find Greenstone Zenith. He's going to get another Primeval Titan. This is pretty sweet. He's going to get 2 more lands. Unfortunately, he's tapped out this turn, so he's not going to be able to end a turn, activate the top. But do you think he gets a Glimmer Post here, or just 2 Cloud Posts?
I think he should get a Glimmer Post and a Cloud Post.
The merit I see to getting 2 Cloud Posts is that you're on 2-turn clock anyway, and this allows you to activate top and still cast Emrakul. Yeah.
That's fair.
But we'll see what he decides to work with. It is pretty narrow, and gaining life is significant in this state. So see how he chooses to play this.
Well, if he'll gain 6 life if he gets Glimmer Post or Cloud Post. He would gain 6 life for each Glimmer Post. So that would either put him at 21 or 27.
Yeah.
Currently, John has 12
Power.
12 power plus
Plus-
Deathrite Shaman activations.
Oh, and he
with
also has a Creeping
16
Target.
damage.
Yeah, Target
16
too.
Yeah, 19. So actually getting 1 Glimmer Post would give John 1 more turn.
Actually, I'm not even sure he has that
David,
1
one more
turn.
turn.
He, the Deathrite Shaman can activate right now. That's 2 damage, and then 2 damage on his turn, plus swing for 15 from the creatures. That's 19. So
Yeah, that's why.
okay.
Yeah, getting the Glimmer Post would give
yeah,
him 1 turn.
I stand
'cause
corrected.
It would put him at 21.
Oh yeah, Superfluous Rhetoric and Benema point out correctly that he gets Dryad Arbor. That Terminus is a nice out.
This is an interesting play.
Yeah, Dryad Arbor just
The
to
Dryad
protect
Arbor-
against Liliana.
yeah.
I like that. And actually, I've seen some 12 post lists run a really spicy card just to deal with.
Well, but the problem is Jace is on board, and because of that Jace,
Yeah, true.
David is just dead on board. If,
Colony Garden is a card that I've seen in Primeval Titan decks to deal with sacrifice effect. Putting
Regar-
in a plant token into play. Sweet tribal mechanic out of Zendikar. Not really tribal. But,
out of World Wake, which
World
was
Wake.
one of the most powerful sets ever printed.
oh yeah, we see plenty of World Wake cards on the board right here. We got the Jason Mind Sculptor, obviously. Maelstrom Pulse right here is going to take care of the Primeval Titan, and this is going to be a lethal attack.
So David here. At this point, we're just waiting for the concession.
All right, sweet. So John Barber is going to take game 1, Charlotte's Bug over Cloud 12 post. That's going to put him ahead right here, and the players are going to reach for the sideboard. David's presumably going to get the play this time. So let's see what they have to work with here. So we got on David's side, as he's going to be on the play, he's got 4 Leyline of Sanctity, an Engineered Explosives, a Gaddock Teague, a Rest in Peace, 3 Surgical Extractions, a Tormod's Crypt, a Nature's Claim, a Croson Grip, a Reclamation Sage, and a Bang of Progress. What do you like here, Charles?
It's interesting. John's deck, his plan is just to play good cards to out-card advantage you. So it's very hard to attack John's deck with very specific cards.
I agree. I don't think you board too much here. I could see merit for the Leylines of Sanctity, him to Turok, Liliana, Jace
Sure.
Fate Seals.
Rest in Peace is always a card that's sneakily good in these sort of matchups. It turns off Tarmogoyf.
Yeah,
it turns off Deathrite Shaman.
I definitely could see that coming in. So potentially 5 cards coming in. What about for John?
Pithy Needle. Pithy Needle is a card that I would 100% bring in.
Yeah, I can name Ayavugan or...
Definitely Sylvan Library because David's deck is not pressuring your life total.
Yeah.
When you're dead, you're just dead. So definitely being able to see those extra cards, being able to get that card advantage is very powerful.
Completely agree. And
Thoughtseize.
I like Thoughtseizes here.
And I think that's about it. If you're John, you don't need to change too much. Obviously, you have Abrupt Decays, which are pretty dead.
Yeah.
But a lot of your cards that you have are also very, very good.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize, him, Maelstrom Pulse is, well, not great. It's still fine.
Yeah, so I think Leyline of Sanctity is likely the cards that David's going to be looking for. This deck doesn't manipulate its library a whole lot. It does have Brainstorms and Tops, and I guess Greenstone Zeniths. But if the cards are very hit or miss, so I think you don't mind rolling the dice with the variants. If you get a Leyline in the opening hand, that's great. If not, you have fodder for him to Turok or Liliana the Veil.
Yeah, no, go on.
The notoriously lucky Charles Wong certainly doesn't mind rolling the dice either.
Oh, yeah, not
Very
at all.
degenerate gambler, but very renowned throughout the Seattle area for his.
I've never gambled
skills
in
and
my
games of
life.
chance.
Don't gamble, kids.
Don't gamble.
But looking at John's sideboard, it looks like the cards that could come out are 1 Toxic Deluge, which has very little value here.
Yeah, Toxic Deluge not particularly suited for this matchup.
He could side out the Maelstrom Pulse. He only has one of those, and he has 4 Abrupt Decays. So that's 4 to 5 cards,
Yeah.
or 5 to 6 cards.
You know, interestingly, Abrupt Decay, I would traditionally keep it in against 12 post deck because they usually main deck for Pithing Needles to shut down
Yeah.
Wasteland. He doesn't know this yet, but David actually does not play Pithing Needles at all. So if he had information, perfect information to work with, I would actually board out the Decays, but I don't think he's going to do that if he is familiar with Cloud Post.
I think he could board out some. If that's the case, if John knows that 12 post plays Pithy Needle, I can see John boarding out maybe 1 or 2 if he's kind of greedy.
That's a reasonable hedge.
Yeah.
So looks like these players are going to pile shuffle real quick. Let's see if we go back down the match, see how things are shaping up. And it looks like David's still contemplating his sideboard. Is that a collected company in his hand? Because I don't think there's one in the sideboard. What's the card? Oh, that's Bane of Progress. Bane of Progress, a pretty sweet, spicy card against prison-style decks. It's a commander card. And
Great Green Sun Zenith target.
Great Green Sun Zenith target, yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do a whole lot here. Charlotte's Bug does play a surprising number of robot creatures. Robots referring to artifact creatures such as Charlotte's Agent and Baleful Strix. But I don't think they're high impact enough to warrant a Bane of Progress.
The problem with boarding in Bane of Progress to kill creatures, that Baleful Strix and Charlotte's Agent, is that even if you kill the creatures, John will still have gotten the value out of those Baleful Strix via the drawing a card and the Charlotte's Agent via Cascade.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. So looks guys still reaching. Probably present going to happen pretty soon. Let's take one more look at the sideboards. So looks like we got a couple more stragglers coming in, so we might hit the 40 mark very soon. It's pretty turned out right here.
Like I can use that. I just need to sign it. You sign that. You grab one of these from up front. It'll have that on the back.
All right, looks like we're going to go back to the match. David DiMolanta is going to lead off with a turn 0 lay on Line of Sanctity. This is pretty sweet. I wonder if it shuts down anything out of John's hand right now. And he's going to follow that up with a Cloud Post. I think this is the perfect start for him. And John draws a fresh copy of
Liliana.
Which
I
is
see a hymn, I think. I see Force of Will with a double Force of Will.
Yeah.
Pithy Needle. Pithy Needle here probably going to name, would you say top?
I would say Sensei's Divining Top at this point. Maybe Ivugan, but if you're going to jam it out so quickly, I doubt it's going to be Ivugan.
Yeah. 12 post gets a lot of mileage out of Sensei's Divining Top. See a cut here.
And we do indeed have confirmation that Pithing Needle is naming Sensei's Divining Top. Dave's going to pick up a card for the turn. That is a Brainstorm. I wonder if he has any colored sources to work with. And he's going to copy a Cloud Post. He could, interestingly enough, copy the Underground Sea to at least get blue mana, but I don't think that's what he wants right now.
Yeah, here, John passing back.
Oh, he's kept a one-lander. That is ambitious. Oh, and I think he just pick up a Hymn to Turok. That's very unfortunate.
I see a Maelstrom Pulse.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a while away from that, but David is actually at 5 mana right now. He has a Green Sun Zenith in hand, Primeval Titan as well. I think he might just Zenith for 2 and make Sakura Triloader.
Does he have a Titan in hand?
I think that's his middle card. So here we're going to have, Green Sun Zenith for 2.
So John here, he has a lot of tools actually in his hand. He has a Maelstrom Pulse to get rid of the ley line if he does reach 3 mana.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's 2 turns away from doing that.
Yeah, and I think David right now is a little bit choked on colored sources, so... Ooh, is he going for a Dryad Arbor? I think I kind of like going for a Veteran Explorer the next turn, hoping to get a Engineering Explosives out. Let's go for the Dryad Arbor.
Just goes for the Dryad Arbor. Interesting choice by David.
Yeah.
This leaves him way more exposed. to removal spells, right? Obviously, Abrupt Decay can't hit it, but
Oh, here we go, Wasteland.
there's a Wasteland.
Timely draw. That's probably the best thing he could hope for right now, other than a brainstorm into more gas. But do you fire that off here, David? You really need that Maelstrom Pulse turned on and the Wasteland. But on the other hand, if you just let David go, he could slam a Primeval Titan, force your hand with that Force of Will. David's going to get the turn back.
I kind of like, if I'm John, I kind of like holding on to that Wasteland. You have multiple spells that cost 3.
Yeah.
And being able to cast that Maelstrom Pulse is very important. Obviously, you have the Force of Will to,
Yeah, Potato Dono, that copy of Nito is on Sensei's Divining Top. Primeval Titan's going to go ahead and get countered by Force of Will. Something David really want to resolve, but I don't think he'd be too unhappy with this. Interesting thing, most Pro Post decks also play crop rotation. David does not. But I think given that if your opponent has green mana available, you often want to activate the Wasteland on upkeep so that your opponent has to tap out on their turn, as well as if they go for a Cloud Pulse or Vasu, would put in the play land play tapped.
interesting. So John Wastelands the turn after.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Sylvan Library. I think this is a very good card. I think John was holding Force of Will, but he pitched the Jace and he had no other blue cards to work
Yeah.
with. John here has his Sylvan Library. It's going to be a makeshift Sensei's Divining Top for him with some upside, green Necropotent, so to speak.
So definitely, with no pressure, the Sylvan Library will definitely allow David to pull ahead, especially since John already pitched a card to Force of Will.
Yeah, so here's a copy of Sylvan Library. We're going to pull up the newest version just because the printed text is very different from the Oracle. He decides to take this one card off the Sylvan Library. He had the potential to pay 8 life and draw 3 cards, including the draw step for the turn. So right here, he's going to go ahead and cast a Zenith for 2. This allows him to shuffle his library because I guess that was hot garbage.
Also, he only has 1 green source, so it's very important for him to get that second green source.
Yeah. Oh, but he's going to go for a Veteran Explorer. I like this a lot.
Do you? Because David doesn't know if John is playing any basics. If Veteran Explorer does die, this might give John access to much needed mana.
Yeah, we'll add him later. Dorte, we'll have some more information about the metagame in a second. We'll have all the players from round 1 metagame breakdown in a second, but right now we also have some stragglers in for round 2. Sylvan Library is going to get taken out by the Abrupt Decay. So David actually wasn't able to draw any extra cards off it, but he did get some manipulation. Here we have something we rarely see, Veteran Explorer sending in for 1 damage. And a Tropical Island for the turn. Do you slam this?
Yeah, you just have to slam it. John's already played 1 Force of Will. And letting John be down 2 cards is pretty big.
Yeah.
For David, it definitely.
Yeah.
Knowing that John does not have access now to 2 Force of Wills, it allows David to try and dig for more gas.
Play
and
stuff
try
with
and
impunity.
yeah,
Okay.
just try and go over John.
So this is a bit interesting. Right now he's going to have access to 2 battles on his turn. You can pay him to Turak, but that Lay on Sanctity is going to make it really awkward. See what? Oh, Sylvan Library. That's a great start. So David, we've neglected to mention he picked up a Tropical Island last turn. This is really sweet because he actually had quite a few blue cards in his hand. This gives him some ability to manipulate his hand a little bit. He's not going to show us or himself what that last card was. Maybe he picked it up. What's that card he do for the turn? Let's see if we get a look. Well, we're going to be in the dark as to what that is. Here we have an Engineering Explosives on 1. This is a bit awkward. He doesn't really want to ramp John right now, but he probably does want to shuffle his library as well as maybe activate a top in his library.
This is why I like getting the Sakura Tribe Elder here.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, if John gets 2 basic lands here, this is a disaster in my opinion for David.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and John does have 2 basics, which is, I know it's fairly rare for a Shardless bug deck to have, a lot of basics, right?
I think Forest Swamp is usually their go-to because it allows them to cast Maelstrom Pulse, Abrupt Decay, Golgari Charm, etc.
So now John can cast, this Maelstrom Pulse on the Slay line.
Yeah.
He can play Liliana, And with that Sylvan library alive, he could just pull ahead.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, he can't hardcast Force of Will still, despite having 5 lands on board.
That's true.
All right, so what we got here? Senseless Divining Top. I guess that was the price that warranted this exchange. And David's going to have an Eye of Ugin at his disposal with plenty of mana. I think John needs to find Wasteland this turn. John's going to point to the Sylvan Library. This feels like an upkeep trigger, but it's in fact a draw step trigger. You could draw an additional card, and it's just an absolute nightmare in terms of judge questions when you have any interactions with, say, Dredge, Brainstorm on upkeep, etc. Quite annoying.
So it looks
John-
like Goyf, and to, I think, maybe a land or Liliana. Liliana and land, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's marked for anything other than maybe the Goyf. Probably the fetch land, so you can go Decay and Liliana, and then like take out that Dried Arbor if he's so inclined, but that may not be the best use of his resources.
John is at 15 life. He could definitely draw 2 right here. He could draw the Goyf if he wants to, or he could just take the land if that is a land.
Oh, interesting. He goes for the Goyf. I think he's going to set up for, well, depending on whether he wants to make the Dry Arbor get sacked, I think he might just go Liliana and go upstairs. Just use it as a two-sided Raven's Crime.
Yeah. Get rid of one of those Maelstrom Pulses since that's redundant.
Yeah. David's going to activate his top in response, see if there's something better he wants to discard, or something worse, a better choice to discard, rather. And he's going to go ahead and activate it, allow that to resolve. He's going to discard the Brainstorm, which I think is really interesting whenever your opponent discards a Brainstorm. But David's sitting with another copy in the hand. I don't think he cares particularly about that. Here we go. Brainstorm and a turn. Still has a force untapped, so he can manipulate once more after resolving the Brainstorm. It's going to put the Eye of Ugin into the hand, and he still has some green cards. I think that's a Zenith and a Primeval Titan. I think he's very far ahead.
So what are David's targets besides Emrakul and Ulamog?
Just those two.
All right, so with the Eye of Ugin, that will allow him to cast Ulamog.
Yeah, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 from the post alone, and then 8 mana. So
So I will reduce the cost of Ulamog by
Yep.
2.
Eye of Ugin. Let's get a picture of that up. So this card not very inconspicuous when it first got released because there were no Eldrazi creatures in Worldwake, I believe. This didn't really make much sense, but it started seeing play in these Turbo Eldrazi style decks, 12-post decks, as just a devastating inevitability engine. But now it's even more than that.
Yeah, interestingly, when Worldwake first came out, everyone was wondering what Eldrazi spells were, right? And then when Kozilek first got spoiled, because that was the first Eldrazi to get spoiled, everyone went wild over Eye of Ugin, and the card spiked like crazy.
Yeah, I think it was like Kozilek was like $50 at some point. There is a classic thread from a forum called Magic Traders about some guy trading. He wanted to trade 40 Eye of Ugins and 4 foil Eye of Ugins for Black Lotus, and everyone mocked him. But it's just archived in the annals of Magic history now.
Yeah, so more recently, Eye of Ugin, more well known for being in the Pro Tour deck, the Eldrazi Pro Tour deck, where Jason Cow took down that Pro Tour, but people remember Louis Scott Vargas and whatnot, playing Eye of Ugin and Eldrazi Temple alongside cards such as a Reality Smasher, right? I thought not Seer.
Yeah, we might see some Eldrazi on camera today, in fact.
But,
not the big kinds. But.
More traditionally, Eye of Ugin has been used in cards, decks such as 12 Post and Tron in Modern to fetch up cards such as Wormcoil Engine, Emrakul, Ulamog, etc.
And John's going to take his time here to resolve that Sylvan Library trigger. David, on the other hand, he does have an Eye of Ugin in play now, and 16 mana at his disposal from the Locusts alone. That's 20 mana total. An attack from the Primeval Titan, just getting 2 Locusts would enable him to activate Eye and cast Emrakul on the same turn.
Is that a Toxic Deluge from John?
I didn't get a good glimpse of that, but did he take it into his hand?
I believe I saw a Toxic Deluge in his hand.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to say the least.
Now, if you're John, he's still holding that copy of Maelstrom Post. Is that going for the Leyline and then taking down the Liliana? Oh, no, you can't because there's Dried Arbor on the battlefield. So I think this is going to need to go straight at that Primeval Titan or you're dead. So John goes ahead, resolves his fetch land, getting an Underground Sea. Now he can actually hardcast Force of Will, but not right now. Toxic Deluge for 1. For 1. This is going to take out that Dried Arbor. Then the Maelstrom Pulse.
Maelstrom Pulse will hit, the
Leyline of Sanctity.
Leyline, so that way Liliana can take down and kill the Primeval Titan.
Yeah, so Toxic Deluge right here, sweet commander card. Gets around hate bears like Gaddock Teeg and lets you, interesting enough, David does run a copy. And then it's a really nice sweeper from a deck like Charlotte's Bug, which often wants to punch in with Goyf as its high-end card. So
counting Goyf right now, I believe it's a 5/6.
Yeah,
it might be a 6/7.
Enchantment, sorcery, creature, land,
artifact. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a 6/7. So
wait, no, there's no Planeswalker, there's no Tribal, and there's oh yeah, you're right, 6/7. Wow.
So now, yeah, 6/7. So now this is just a flat-out race. Can David here,
Well,
it's more on John's side because David here, he could just activate his Eye and then get a Ulamog, right? So
Yeah,
John is
Ulamog.
forced to try and race that.
He's gonna pick up his library.
Ooh. And that's another Primeval Titan.
I like just drawing that, getting to Glimmer Pulse, gaining 12 life, then tapping for 24 mana off the Cloud Post alone. That allows you to activate the Eye and draw. Activate the Eye and play.
Play Ulamog.
Well, I was thinking Emrakul, but then he'd have to tap 6 mana to play the Primeval Titan.
Well, let's see. He taps 3, that adds 7. He gets double Glimmer Post. That means each land would add 6 mana. So that would give him 18, 19 mana. So he could play Ulamog this turn.
Yeah.
And what that lets him do is next turn he could just fetch up Emrakul and play
actually,
it.
he's 1 mana shy of actually just playing Emrakul this turn, strangely enough. I think he's going to go for a Vesuva instead of the... Oh, going to go for Karakas.
Okay.
I like this.
Lets him bounce his Ulamog back and forth if he really wants to.
Well, I think the prize he has is bouncing
Interesting.
Emrakul.
He passes when he could have just, he could have just cast Ulamog. I think he's trying to go for Emrakul, it looks like.
Jtron, I think we do have some miracles in the field. I'm not sure yet. I think Greg Mitchell might be on it, and I told him that I'm going to pair him up against his worst matchups. I'd love to see him play against 12 posts just to ridicule him, see him struggle with this, but we'll see what's coming soon. So John's going to go ahead and send for 6. He's got quite a board already, but he's going to go ahead and get wrecked by Emrakul right here, unless John is holding Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah,
and he's going to scoop him up right here.
John just scoops
so
him
we're going
up.
to go ahead to game 3. See, during this time, let's see if we get you some more information about what the metagame looks like today. So right now, we had 35 players for round 1, but 36 for round 1, but we had some stragglers come in. They'll have a round 1 loss, but our current metagame right now will be up shortly while these guys are sideboarding. And speaking of sideboarding, let's see if anything changes. So we thought the Toxic Deluge might go out, but it actually did surprising amount of work that last game. Does anything change here? I think maybe...
Honestly, I think the biggest problem is there's just not much to sideboard in. So,
So that's 36 players so far?
Yeah, we'll end up with 38 in round 2.
Okay. All right, so guys, here we have a metagame breakdown. It's actually a pretty diverse field. We got a lot of Storm today. I think 4 players out of 36 are on it. 3 copies of Charlotte's Bug, one of which we see right here. 3 Blue-Red Delver, and 2 copies of Imperial Painter, Bug Delver, Grixis Delver, Nick Fit, and Miracles, and 16 decks present as one-ofs. So that's pretty sweet.
Technically 2 different builds from Nick Fit. One is like Jund Punishing Fire, one is Junk, but there's not that much difference.
Siege Rhino versus Punishing Fire, 2 of my favorite cards.
Yes.
Legacy powerhouses.
And then the other gets real diverse, from like Enchantress to Ley Lines to Mono Blue Aggro to weird stuff. So.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Thank you to our tournament organizer, Chris Cornejo, for helping us put that together. Looks like John is going to go ahead. He mulliganed 2-6. Looks like he's going to stride. This hand is...
Looks like a very
4-9.
powerful mulligan to 6, actually.
Yeah.
I see a Deathrite, I see a him.
And then a Force Will that's not yet live.
Yeah.
So interesting. He scribes to the bottom, but then he fetches anyway.
David here plays the top. And here, John responds with a Hymn to Torak. The top will help mitigate this Hymn to Torak a lot. Allowing David to play off the top of his deck is very powerful. Even though John has a lot of disruption in his hand, he has only Deathrite as a clock, so we'll see if David is able to set something up with the time that John has given him. Draw is a Vesuva and a Cloud Post. Passes back, and we see John draw a Baleful Strix. Expect John just to cast that Baleful Strix. A fetch. And I think John drew a Tarmogoyf. So this should allow John to actually form a fairly scary board. And Dave is going to need to find something quickly.
All right, so what's David working with here?
David here, he's looking at, I believe that was a Green Sun Zenith on top.
Yeah.
So here, I believe we're going to see a Green Sun Zenith for Veteran Explorer.
Yeah.
And that'll give David a trump blocker,
Yep.
while also allowing David to ramp and cast, Primeval Titan, hopefully.
Yeah.
But John here draws a second Force of Will, which gives him a second blue card
Yep.
to counter anything threatening.
And you know what's more interesting? This Veteran Explorer allows him to hard cast his Force of Will.
Yeah.
So this guy's going to go ahead and resolve their Veteran Explorer trigger. John has access to 6 mana already. Actually, no, there's no lands in the graveyards. Oh no, sorry, there is.
So I believe we just see a lot of lands for David.
Yeah.
Oh.
Terminus.
Oh,
off the
Terminus.
top. Hard cast Force of Will.
Terminus?
Yeah, that's a reason to splash for white for 12 posts actually.
Oh man, that
but-
is saucy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that gets forced, but still.
So he's gonna go ahead and play a Vesuva copying Cloud Post, and then look at his library again. Oh, and he has another copy of Terminus. I think he needs to tap that white mana in order to cast Terminus.
What is this? The
board state
1980
doesn't really
Olympics?
make sense.
Miracles. What is this? So here David pays for his Terminus. As required.
Yeah. I mean, technically, he could have just said reveal, but then there was a Force Will at some point, so it implied that there was a casting of the card for the Miracle cost.
Thoughtseize.
Let's see. So he might just go ahead and brainstorm right here.
Yep.
Reveal a terminus, but that's not going to do anything. So you're just going to pick it up and put it right back down. And he's going to show him 2 lands most likely.
I believe that's Eye of Ugin and a Terminus on top.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, David doesn't know that John has a second Force of Will, which he could cast off of Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
There is a Polluted Delta in the yard.
Yeah. Right now we're looking at creature, sorcery, instant, land. That's a 4/5 Tarmogoyf. Right now it's not really keeping pace, but like David has a lot of haymakers. Right here he's going to pass another Terminus. It's going to also meet a Force of Will.
Yep.
But now that means the Green Sun Zenith is going to resolve unless John top decks really well.
Ironically, that veteran explorer giving John the extra mana he needs to not have to pitch Force of Will to the original Terminus. So
Basically Goblin Guide, right?
yeah.
Alright, so trigger, gain 3 life off of the Glimmer Post. He's going to activate top, tapping that Glimmer Post for 1 mana. Glimmer Post is the land that gains life when it comes into play as a trigger, but it's not the one that produces a lot of mana. So I like that type of library manipulation.
And a Green Sun Zenith. So
that type of
David
sequence.
probably going to get a Primeval Titan. Well, he will get a Primeval Titan.
Yeah, Primeval Titan, that's going to go in the battlefield. It's going to trigger.
Would you say he gets a Cloud Post and Eye of Ugin here?
Yeah, I think that's the best bet.
That would give him.
John has not picked up a Wasteland in all 3 games so far, and he's actually playing 4 copies. What is going on here?
That would give him a lot of mana, to say
Yeah.
this. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 mana. He could cast Emrakul, the discount from Eye of Ugin
Yeah.
here.
So right now he picked up a Maelstrom Pulse, so he's not quite drawing dead yet. Like he can at least make sure that the Titan doesn't trigger next turn. David doesn't have a top to work with, so he has 1 activation of the Eye, but hopefully he'll be able to.
And I like this play from John a lot.
Yeah, hope to hit a land, which he did.
You know what's going to happen. So, and at your current pace, you're not going to be able to kill David.
Yeah. So right now he needs to rip a Wasteland. He needs to rip 2 Wastelands actually.
Yes.
David's got access to 17 mana plus the Eye of Ugin, so he can cast an Ulamog this turn. Wow. So John's probably going to shift the turn back. David's going to draw for his turn. It's turn 1 or time call? Yeah, looks like we're on extra turns.
So I have a hard time seeing this ending up as a draw, right?
Yeah.
David here.
This is turn 1. Turn 3, he's going to get Emrakul.
And he would get turn 4. Actually, this
Yeah.
might end in a draw because of the weird.
Well, not anymore. This Vesuva's going to copy one of the posts and make plenty of mana.
Yeah, but let's say David plays Emrakul on turn 3. Then turn 4 he would attack, putting John at 2. And then turn 5 would go to John, and they would draw.
Oh, okay.
Which is a funky thing with extra turns and I guess
So
extra turns.
I guess
so.
it makes sense to just get the Ulamog right now, but if he plays his post, all of the locusts suddenly make 15 mana, so he would have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 mana available. That's actually enough to... He could activate Eye and cast Emrakul this turn.
Oh, he has double Cloud Post.
Yes.
So
This is game... Oh, I'm sorry. This is game 3. So, game's tied. This is the rubber game, and the winner of this will be up 1-0 in their attempt to claim top 8. He's going to get Emrakul, float a bunch of mana, cast it this turn.
this should be good though.
This should be game.
Well, is it because ironically, John can save his Jace,
You save the Jace, bounce Emrakul, and hope for Thoughtseize or him.
which means that David would have to attack the Jace, right? But if David attacks the Jace, then he can't kill John because
Well,
John's at 17.
no, I think you attack John anyway
But
because
then-
you could hard cast Emrakul again.
But then that'll be. This is turn 2. Turn 3 will go to John. He'll bounce it. Okay, the turns do add up.
So he needs to get Emrakul. Wow. go ahead, attack for a gazillion. And interestingly, the fact that Baleful Strix is tapped, actually it's probably better for John that way, because if he tried blocking, Eye of Ugin could just get the Emrakul back again with a new trigger. Oh, interesting. He's going to play for the win. But he doesn't know that David has a Glimmer Post in hand, and that's going to put his life total out of reach. Glimmer Post is going to come in the battlefield, gaining him 6 life. Players are going to figure out what the board state is before David commits anything. Looks like he's going to go ahead, play Glimmer Post, remember to trigger it, 6 life, go up to 15, and then probably follow up with a top, see if he could find... Actually, I would like playing top first, see if he can find a Karakas.
Yeah, and see if he could just win the game on the spot.
Yeah, well, that's not the case. He finds a Dryad Arbor, Show and Tell, just hot garbage. But you know what? He has a free shuffle effect from the Eye of Ugin. Or not free, 7 mana, but it's basically free at this point.
So he could just cast the Ulamog, and that is the game. So.
Okay, wow. So Cloud Post is going to take it 2-1 over Starless Bug. David DiMolanta advances to 1-0.